feels like there's been a lot more food recalls recently. Do you sense that too?
Well, we know America's food, both growing and distribution systems, are very complex.
We are going to take you inside a food safety lab. Workers here are testing for everything from E. coli, salmonella, and listeria. We're going to show you what they're learning from it and the limitations that may prevent a lab like this from opening where you live. Inside the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. So you get paid to play with your food.
I do.
These scientists are actually busy.
So what we're responsible for is ensuring the safety of food throughout the state of Florida. And we have about 50,000 food establishments that we are responsible for inspecting throughout the state.
That's the Director of Food Safety, Matthew Curran. He's one of more than 200 people who work around the clock to prevent and investigate foodborne illnesses.
We have inspectors that go out and inspect facilities to make sure that they're operating under sanitary conditions. And then what they also do is they'll collect random samples, whether it's from just a surveillance type approach, or we get a consumer complaint or what have you.
Those facilities include dairy farms, food manufacturers, and even your neighborhood grocery or convenience store.
We've heard a lot about salad kits being contaminated with E. coli. Is that the kind of things that you guys are looking at?
Absolutely. So if we do find a leafy green finished product that has some contamination in it, we then have to try to figure out where did that contamination come from. Did it come from some handling step in the store, upstream? Did it come from the field? And that's oftentimes a research project in and of itself.
Over the last 2 years, these researchers have looked at more than 24,000 samples. Nearly 1,000 came back with some sort of contamination. More than half tested positive for possible E. coli and other bacteria. A third tested positive for viruses and bacteria. The rest were contaminated with heavy metals, mold, and pesticides. We got to see how biologists test for salmonella. They use these hot dogs. First, they prepare the sample.
We put a whole package in here.
Okay.
That way we can essentially test the whole sample. And if there are any clusters of microbial bacteria stuff growing here, we will be able to catch it because it's all going to be blended together.
Then they create a breeding ground for the bacteria to see if it's even there.
We're going to take our portion and we're going to measure out some sterile, this is sterile media. This we happen to make in-house. We make it in bulk quantities. We want to keep the sample as it was when it was collected. So as you were purchasing it on the shelf, this is what we want to test to make sure that, that's what you're eating, that's what's safe.
A stomacher.
Yes, as agitates it.
Digests it, basically.
After that, they wait to see if the bacteria grows.
So this is positive for salmonella.
That is salmonella.
And if a bacteria like salmonella is detected, the sample goes to these machines to extract and then read the DNA.
So you know how, if I compared my DNA to my mom's, it'd be similar because we're related. But if you were to compare you and me, it would be a little different.
Right. Yeah.
And so we can do the same kind of thing with our pathogens. Like a family tree, it gets put into what's called a phylogenetic tree.
The data then gets put into a national database to see if the bacteria is linked to other outbreaks across the world. Unfortunately, not every state has a lab like that, but the federal government is now working to make it easier to trace a foodborne illness.
We saw it during the pandemic, and afterwards there are many efforts, including by the Biden-Harris administration, to improve traceability. Think of barcodes on everything, and it tracked through computers, even through blockchain. Think of just like the barcodes you see when you buy your groceries. Every pallet, every box, every unit, or sometimes in multiple units, will be traced as an individual number with scanners and kept track of on computers, so that just like when you scan the barcode on on your groceries, if you self-checkout, think of that on a massive scale with every part of the food chain being included. So you literally can trace any unit of food back to its origin and know where it went through.
That's Florida Congressman Darren Soto. He says the new FDA rule has some limitations.
Big companies like Publix and Winn-Dixie are able to comply. There's a lot of mom and pop shops and little warehouses and restaurants that we're concerned about whether they're going to be able to comply in time.
Representative Soto says small businesses don't have the money or the resources to get this done in time. And that's why he says he's sponsoring the Food Traceability Enhancement Act.
Right now, there's a lot of negotiating about when the final compliance date is and whether we put up pilot programs first. But really, the rule is what stands for now, and we'll work with the administration and with our local food industry, restaurants and the like to get to the right deadline so that people can comply with the rules.
For the family who's watching this at home, what message do you want them to know about what you do?
Yeah, so if you don't hear from us or hear about us, you know we're doing our jobs.
Be sure to subscribe to Solutionaries to see all our latest videos right here on YouTube.